Welcome everyone to a bonus episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. As always, I'm your host DDJ. This bonus episode is dedicated to the memory of Joe Laurinaitis, who wrestling fans know as Road Warrior Animal. We unexpectedly lost him at the age of 60 late Tuesday night, and this episode is a tribute to Hawk and Animal, who were my all-time favorite tag team. Joining me on this bonus episode is Paul Myers, who Chicago fans will know as the Shot to the Top PL Myers, who happened to be the guest on my very first episode. But tonight we're not chatting under gimmicks or anything. We're just two guys telling stories, sharing memories of our all-time favorite tag team, the Road Warriors. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this little tribute to the Road Warriors on this very special bonus episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to this very special bonus episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. This episode is going to be a tribute to the Road Warriors. As pretty much everybody should know by now, we unfortunately lost Road Warrior Animal late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. This is being recorded on Thursday. With me tonight is my very dear, close, personal, longtime friend, Paul Myers, who you remember from episode 1, the Shot to the Top PL Myers. Paul is a very big fan of the Road Warriors and actually was friends with them. And I figured it would be nobody more appropriate to do this episode with than Paul. So, Paul, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, thank you. I think, tonight I take off the PL Myers persona and talk about from Paul Myers, the fan, because I think that's where we all started. We all start out as fans with the Road Warriors. I tell people, I said, Hulk Hogan was like your first toy. You're like Teddy Bear. Then you go to Toys R Us and then you see the Road Warriors, the Four Horsemen, Ric Flair, the list goes on. And, and those guys it just clicked with the Road Warriors. They were different. They looked different. They acted different. They were just, as Paul Ellering said, they were like a car crash. And, to actually watch them and then, you start collecting, like my very first poster back here that has Hawk, Animal, and Ellering up there. That's actually signed by all three when we brought them in for the 20-year anniversary show. And, that's like your first memory. And, my room was full of the Road Warrior posters. And, I went to watch them on television, TBS, Superstation 605. And, you were enamored with them. And what they did was something different. And then you start watching some of their old stuff from AWA and find out all their legacies and stuff. And, I went to my first time I saw them live was at the UIC Pavilion. They were in the 6-man match in a cage match versus the Horsemen for the 6-man NWA Heavyweight Championship belts, which they won that night. So, as a fan of the Road Warriors, I remember growing up and at one Halloween's I dressed up as Hawk. I had the face paint on and stuff. And, they were both just larger than life, and there was something special about them that made it magic.
Yeah. Because they were definitely one of a kind. There's definitely nobody else like them. So I'm going to tell you about the first time I saw them on TV, and then if you could tell the audience about your impressions the first time you saw them on TV. First time I ever remember seeing them on TV. I didn't get into wrestling until it was like late 1990, early 1991. So they were already in the WWF at the time, and I remember, I think it was an episode of Wrestling Challenge or Superstars, one of the programs that they would have on WFLD, like either Saturday or Sunday mornings. And there was this big tag team battle royal. I think it was in either February or March of 91. And it had literally all the tag teams, and the winning team would go on to face the Hart Foundation at WrestleMania 7 for the tag team titles. and I think it had come down to um, the Legion of Doom and the Nasty Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe the Legion of Doom had just eliminated Power and Glory, but Power and Glory came back and screwed, the Legion of Doom out over, allowing the Nasty Boys to win and go on to challenge for the belts at WrestleMania 7. The one thing I do remember, though, as a result, I believe it was under a minute, but they would go on to get their revenge at WrestleMania 7 and beat them in like something like 50 some odd seconds. And I'm thinking, God, these guys are just amazing. So, again, share the story of the first time you saw them on TV and your thoughts.
Well, the first time I saw them on TV was back with TBS, and that was, in the studio. And I think that was just something where you just were like, who are these guys? Because they didn't, because again, when you're watching WWF back then, when it was called that, you had a lot of the people, like I grew up watching from WrestleMania 1 on. Right? Actually, my first pay-per-view I went to see at the Vic Theater was WrestleMania 2. So the thing is that when you're watching, you didn't see all these other companies like World Class and NWA and AWA. So when I saw them on television first time, it wasn't anything. They didn't have this great match. It was just a car crash. They just came in and beat up these two guys, and then you're like, wow, because they didn't fit the look of anybody else. They didn't come in because even when you're watching WWF, you saw certain matches, but no one just steamrolled over what the Road Warriors did.
Right. So obviously, you got to see them in their heyday when you became a fan. Me, on the other hand, again, like I said, I didn't start watching them until they were already in the WWF. So I didn't really fully grasp how good they were and I want to say till like right after high school, once I really started getting into the older stuff. I remember, and I was actually thinking about this today. I did my junior year in high school. I did we always had I took a criminal justice class, and we had to write, we had like a daily writing assignment or something like that. And we had to write so much. And then if we wanted to, we could write about anything. And I wrote about at the time how I felt that Demolition was the greatest tag team of all time because they were the coolest guys I'd ever seen. But
I wrote a paper, but mine was on the Road Warriors, and I got a B+ on that one. Why the Road Warriors were the greatest tag team of all time.
Well, let me finish. Since that paper, because actually my teacher at the time, he was actually like a student teacher for the actual teacher, and he and I would actually get into daily debates about this and stuff because he was a huge Road Warriors fan. But after I'd gotten a chance to really go back and watch a lot of their older stuff, especially through the WWE network and even before that and stuff, I totally did a 180, and I'm with you. Road Warriors, greatest tag team of all time.
Well, and the thing is that keep this in mind, you weren't exposed to other teams, and that's the thing. It's kind of like when you are the greatest, the greatest wrestler in your neighborhood, and then you go to the next city over and find out, wait, I'm not as good as them, or wow, there's someone bigger than me. That's what it is. And it's like, when we're all watching wrestling, we don't see other things, and then when we see it, we go, wow, this is something different. And it gets your knowledge. The more you know, the better you can debate certain things. And again, if you're only exposed to Demolition, which again at the time was the ripoff of the Road Warriors, but you look at the two guys that was Demolition, two solid athletes that had great careers before they came to WWF or WWE, and mass superstar Bill Eadie, along with his partner, it's just one of those things where that's what Vince McMahon was trying to do. He was trying to create his own Road Warriors with Demolition.
Right. Right. So tell the audience again, if you're new to this show, Paul was the guest on my very first episode, and we actually spent some time talking about the Road Warriors because of his connections. And I'm going to get into how Paul here actually made it possible for me to meet the Road Warriors. But before I go into that story, I'm going to let Paul share some stories about his time with the Road Warriors. So Paul, the floor is yours.
Well, the thing is that, again, as Paul Myers, not PL Myers, I'm a fan of the Road Warriors. I get their merchandise, I get their posters, I got the action figures, and you see them live. And then 96, actually 90, which is true story, 90, 95, I met Road Warrior Animal. Road Warrior Animal was doing a Special Olympics event at the Rosemont Horizon. They were doing on the floor where they had all, and he was there, had pictures and autographs and stuff. And I didn't know you could bring your own stuff, but I met him. I'm like, hi, what's your name? Paul. Oh, okay. Animal's always business. That's the one thing. Some of the interviews I've done with Animal has always been business. He's always been about the business. So when I met him, it was like, oh, great, I got Road Warrior Animal's autograph. The next year, 96, at the Illinois Special Olympics event again, which was held at the convention center, I met Hawk. So I actually brought the the Crockett Cup pictures, like a 5x7 of them with the belt, the Crockett Cup. So I met Hawk. I actually interviewed him. I started my television show, Hero TV, interviewed Hawk. And I go, this guy's, you always try and impress your heroes. And Hawk was, of the two, Animal was business, and Hawk was the guy that a lot of people drifted to because he was very likable. Not that Animal wasn't, but Animal was a business guy. You didn't mess with him. So I go up to him and go, this guy's won 6 different championships, the Crockett Cup, this guy's a legend. He looks in the camera and goes, how do you not like this guy? He knows everything. And that's where our friendship started. And then after that, I met Hawk again, and I actually met the Road Warriors at WrestleMania 13 in Chicago, did an interview with them, which was featured on Dark Side of the Ring. All the clips of Hawk's interview was on Dark Side of the Ring, was from the interview I did at Gold's Gym 2 days after WrestleMania with Animal and Hawk. And you can see how Animal's talking about how WCW treated him wrong, why they're in WWF. Then I interviewed Hawk again. And then lo and behold, I became a manager in 2000. I started off with PWI and LWF, and then in 2000, I became 2001, joined PCW, and in October, I managed the Road Warriors in Chicago. That was the deal. A friend of mine, Bob Morenin, who works for Wrestling Figs, a website with news and wrestling figures information, hooked me up with the appearance. The story was P.L. Myers hired the Road Warriors to be our hitman because Flyboy TK was the guy I managed, and Dave Storm and Wally Wild interrupt TK's celebration. So I hired the Road Warriors to go beat them up. So it was a 3-way dance, October 20th, 2001, at the Oakland Pavilion. We had over 900 people. Hawk and Animal were great. The place went ballistic. And then lo and behold, at the end of the match, P.L. Myers was not happy with the Road Warriors beating up the wrong person. So I grabbed Hawk. Hawk grabbed me and body slam, threw me in the corner. Animal body slammed me, and Hawk came off the top rope and landed on me. So that was my first experience managing the Road Warriors, because I believe besides myself, Paul Ellering, Sonny, and I believe also I saw a picture with Jimmy Hart. So there's 4 of us that have actually managed the Road Warriors. So there's only 4 people. And an inside story, because unfortunately Vince McMahon has pulled back the curtain on the business. When Animal picked me up, he pretty much deadlifted me and body slammed me. And he goes in the back and goes, you know what? In my how many years in the business, you're the heaviest piece of what I've ever had to pick up. More than Jerry Blackwell. So
wow, that's saying something.
That was my badge of honor, because as a manager, a rookie manager, I just didn't, quote, push at the right time. But and then we brought him back for Dream Night 1 at Elmhurst College, where Mr. Perfect was there. Showed up right after he got let go from the WWF with the airplane incident with Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins, that was his first independent wrestling show ever. He showed up to Dream Night 1. So that was his first taste of watching an independent show. And then Dream Night 2 was the 20-year anniversary of the Road Warriors, 20 years to the day. And one day we brought them in. Paul Ellering, Hawk, and Animal together for the PCW tag titles. They were in a three-way dance with the Gravediggers and CIA. Road Warriors went over. That was their 7th championship they won together with Paul Ellering. They've won a lot of different championships, but not with Paul Ellering.
Right.
So this was so special. And then, unfortunately, October 19th, 2003, Hawk passed away. After that, we brought back Animal for Dream Night 3 with Dusty Rhodes. Paul Ellering was also there. So our connections with Animal have always been there, and I've always appreciated, him putting somebody over and helping a company out. So Animal was always a class act, always business. My friendship with Hawk, everybody knows about. Spoke at his funeral, touched with the family, and then done anything I can for any of the Ellering and Animal too. So it's one of those sweet moments, bittersweet moments when you get the phone call and find out that Hawk passed away. I found out at work, and then I got the message from who, which I don't know.
That would be me.
That'd be you. About Animal, which just shocked me because at 60 years old, he wasn't the partier of the duo. He was, in, to best of my knowledge, good health. I guess he went away for the anniversary with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Passed away. It's just gone too soon. And
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it was really shocking and stuff because, like you said, I didn't know, of anything going on with Animal where he was in bad health or anything. Like I said, I had just gotten done with my morning walk and was eating breakfast when I found out. And then not too long after that was when I reached out to you to see if you had heard yet. You mentioned Dream Night 2, and I kind of want to go back to that because this ties into the story I alluded to a little while ago about how you made it possible for me to basically hang with the Road Warriors and Ellering for the day. I came in, I think I was helping you sell tickets for that show, Dream Night, and you had invited me, to be, to the show. I actually got to have breakfast. I think you were there, Frank Rodriguez, and a few other people, along with Hawk and Ellering. We all had breakfast that morning, and sitting down and talking with Hawk, and him questioning my masculinity because of it, just something we were talking about in a joking manner, and hearing Paul Ellering's stories of the Iditarod and stuff. That was just an unbelievable start to the day. And I'm going to fast forward to a little bit. Going to the hotel where they were staying at that night, I think you were getting ready to go off to the gym or something, and I was just going to chill until it was time to go. And I remember walking in the hotel and seeing Animal at, waiting to check in, and I was not going to lie, I was deathly afraid to go up to him and introduce myself because he was just such a big guy. And I just I don't want to bother him. I want to let him be. But I remember talking to him a little bit later. I think it was before the show or whatever. And I think we were getting ready to leave and they were supposed to follow me to the show. And he was just, as like you mentioned, professional, but just extremely nice. And, and I spent a lot of time looking at this picture that I took with them. I think it was backstage before they went out. They just put on their paint, and I got to watch that, and they were just really good guys, and hanging out with them for a bit at the bar, and again hearing a few more stories. It's just, I'll never forget that day for as long as I will live. Probably outside of my wedding day and the day my son was born, that was probably the greatest day of my life. I'll definitely say it's the greatest day of my life that didn't involve anybody in my family or anything.
Yeah, non-family related.
Yes, that's where we're putting it and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I had a really hard time with this yesterday because I was crying, and I remember I was talking to my mom and just was telling her, because I posted some things on Facebook, and I called her and I'm like, Mom, if you see some stuff on Facebook, it's nothing to do with me. And I explained to her what happened and stuff, and she's, she understood where I was coming from, but it was hard because, again, nobody knew anything was wrong. And just all of a sudden to hear that, this guy that you looked up to, this guy who was such a huge part of my childhood and your childhood, just all of a sudden is gone. And it's just, I struggled all morning to deal with it. I managed to get onto Busted Open Radio yesterday to share the story that I told you about with, meeting Hawk and Animal, and actually, and then that was really helpful as well too. So, just real quick off the top of your head, what would you say would be maybe just give me a couple matches of the Road Warriors that you really enjoy?
Well, I think the matches you enjoy are when they win, because when
Right.
when this there are certain matches that stick out where you go, I can't believe they lost, because they're the Road Warriors. When they fought the Four Horsemen for the tag titles in Chicago, they're not supposed to lose. Or War Games. Think of that match,
Yep.
the match Beyond, which you never saw before. So I think the matches that have really stood out to me are just the ones that are just epic matches that they did. Night of the Skywalkers, even though maybe it didn't turn out the best match of the night. It's just the buildup that they had. I mean, when you listen to Hawk and Animal talk, you knew they were going to hurt somebody. You knew that they didn't. We don't care. You don't like us, we don't care. I mean, the mentality that they brought in and their promos that they did, and these were two big guys that you see the articles in the magazines of how they worked out and how they looked, and it just, there's so many matches that they had. I remember the matches, WrestleMania 13, the street fight, because they were coming back. That was the big thing. The Road Warrior pop, as they would call it in the business, where the place would explode. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of great matches the Road Warriors had. I mean, think about their matches in Japan, for the international tag titles. You don't want to take away from that. Their career expanded so much, and they set a trailblaze of winning all these different championships when the companies meant something. The other teams can say, "Oh, we won 26 championships," but how many times did you win that title? Did it mean something? The Road Warriors had the look, had the dominance, and again, they always were chasing for the titles. And they came up short, but they came back and won the titles. I mean, think of when they finally won the WCW tag titles or NWA tag titles. They had to go ultra heel and beat up the Midnight Express out of
Yep.
nowhere. And that was shot ringside. It wasn't even like almost like a real studio show. It was like, hey, this is what happened in this city, what they did. It's just, they were trailblazers of setting the bar. As Paul Ellering says, they were the greatest of our time, the greatest of all time. And when they could have Paul Ellering as a manager who is a proficient wrestler himself and weightlifter. I mean, I remember working out with Paul Ellering the day of Dream Night. Hawk and Animal wanted no part of that workout. So I think the thing is that when you look back on the Road Warriors career, it was a different time. The bar was raised at a higher level, and everybody else tried to imitate what they did, and nobody can, and nobody will ever do that. There's just like certain managers, there's only one Bobby the Brain Heenan, there's only one Paul Ellering. It's just a magical time of guys that were our superheroes. When I spoke at Hawk's funeral, it was like, I'd say the same thing if I was talking at Animal's funeral. Some people have football players or baseball players as their heroes. Mine were wrestlers, and I knew my heroes could beat the living daylights out of their heroes. And I think that's the thing. And today we all on Facebook, as there's the Road Warriors fan page, which is run by Paul Salaker, who is friends with Hawk and Animal very closely. I talked to him, and they have a lot of great videos and tributes, and somebody else runs it. You have Chicagoland Championship Wrestling October 3rd in Michigan City. I know some of the wrestlers who are, I believe Youth Gone Wild is going to be doing something about the Road Warriors that night. Myself will be doing something that night. I don't know what Chicagoland has planned, but I think they're going to do something, because when you lose somebody in the business, whether it's Hawk, Animal, Bobby Heenan, Roddy Piper, the Dusty Rhodes, the list goes on, you're just shocked, because when we were growing up, you never had a chance to meet these guys. You never did. You just saw them on television. That was it. You had no access to them. You maybe got a picture with them outside the hotel, but that was rare. But because of companies like PCW, when we brought them in, it hurts more because you have a chance to connect with your heroes and actually talk to them. And, you know, most heroes let you down in life. Mine never did. And I was very fortunate because Hawk and Animal and Ellering were always professional. They're always courtesy, and you know, they did stupid things here and there in life, but overall they didn't let me down. I didn't walk away with a bad taste in my mouth, like I'm taking my poster off, I'm taking my hat off, I'm not taking my shirt off, I'm never going to wear the Road Warrior stuff again. You know, I'm wearing it with pride and honor. And today, you know, and also Collar and Elbow, run by Al Snow, they have a design shirt to raise funds for Animal's family. So they have a design shirt. So if you go to Collar and Elbow, there's a shirt that's designed by Animal's wife that all the proceeds go to his family. So there's just a lot of love and support of childhood memories. And again, whether it's wrestling or any sport, anytime you lose somebody, everybody deals with it different. Whether we're crying, whether we're posting it, whether we're taking our anger out in the world, you know, what life is a little bit colder right now because we lost our heroes, but we have to look at that. They're in a better place and they left us with great memories that we'll never forget.
Right. So a couple of the things, and I actually watched one of my favorite Road Warriors matches earlier this afternoon, and that was when they beat the Nasty Boys for the WWF Tag Team titles, because that was like the first time I heard the Road Warrior pop, and just like it was just amazing. Like the whole place went crazy, and the one thing I'll always remember from that was Roddy Piper, who was doing commentary that night with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, going, "What a night!" You know, and it's just. It really was, and it's just like another one that like you mentioned, the stuff against the Horsemen, War Games. Oh, that was just all really good stuff. But one of my favorite memories of the Road Warriors was the night they came back to the WWE back in 2003 when they did that one shot with versus Kane and Rob Van Dam, and I believe that was like a couple weeks before the Dream Night show, and it's just and it was made me so happy because I knew about the issues Hawk had and stuff, but I saw, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of that same feeling that I had when, you know, I saw Jake the Snake show up on that episode of Raw back in 2014, because it's like he finally looks good, like he's finally clean, he's finally where he should be, and it's just like that like Hawk got his redemption that night, and that was just something that'll stick out to me. And then just one Animal story I want to share, and then, you know, whatever else you want to say, you know, and then before we call it a night, it was at C2E2 this year. Animal was there. I remember saying hello to him, you know, because he was at a booth, I think, with like Tommy Dreamer. I believe the Nasty Boys were there at some point. I think Raven was there. But I remember just going over to Animal, just, you know, introducing myself and just saying, hey, you know, really appreciate everything you've done and stuff. And I told him about the time that I hung out with them and stuff. And I think I remember the next day going back, and he was there. And I gave him a copy of the picture that I took with him and Hawk and Ellering, and he was just so appreciative of that. And it's just being able to share with him, and to tell him how much he meant to me, and just that day, and just in general what he did for me and what he did for my fandom of wrestling. It's just unreal, and it's just I'm gonna miss him, but like you mentioned about the memories he has, I mean, for those of you obviously that have the WWE Network, please do yourself a favor, go watch a Road Warriors match or two. Go on YouTube, go on Daily Motion, basically anywhere you can get your hands on any Road Warrior matches, do it, because it's gonna, you know, help you deal with this. It's gonna help you be you know, feel better about things, and it's also going to preserve Animal's memory. Paul, any closing thoughts before we call it a night?
Well, I think also too is keep this in mind too, is that they were able to get in the Hall of Fame, which
Yes.
was a big thing, which I went to see him and Ellering get put in the Hall of Fame, and that was a very touching moment. And you know, I think my moments are my memories of the Road Warriors, but also I think the biggest memory I'll have is I took a few seconds out during that match at Dream Night 2, and PCW, thanks to all the owners and workers and everyone involved in that show, we were the only company to pay tribute to the Road Warriors on their 20-year anniversary. That was the last time all three together. And I wasn't involved in the match at all. I just stood up there in the balcony and goes, I was able to give something back to my heroes. Give them, and then we also did, when after Hawk passed away, we did bring Animal and Tom Hegstrom, Hawk's brother, into PCW to put them in our Hall of Fame. So that was the last time Animal was actually in PCW, when we put him in our Hall of Fame, because he meant so much, and the Road Warriors did help legitimize PCW. So I think from going from a fan to a friend, to work with them, in a million years, if you told me at 13 I was going to manage the Road Warriors and become friends with my heroes, I'd be like, what? Who? Me? Not me. I mean, and that's the thing. And a big thanks to Bob Moran and my friend in New York, because if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't have been put together. But again, I think the thing is that we all have to do as wrestling fans, just rally around together, remember the good times, not the political BS that goes on in the business of independent wrestling and in the bigger companies, but just remember what it was. And it's like being a kid at Christmas. We have to look at it as a fan, not as someone that has to try to find the magic trick of how they did it. It's just go watch the match, just go have fun, see the Road Warriors at the best of what they were, and that's what they are. And no, you can say there were better tag teams out there. Yeah, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, the Horsemen. You could list a whole bunch of other tag teams out there, the Hart Foundation, but from an overall perspective, the Road Warriors were our team. And, we'll always look at them as our heroes. And they were the best of the best, and they won championships. And that's what inspired so many independent wrestlers out there, inspired myself to get in the business. And I told someone, I said, if it wasn't for the Road Warriors, there wouldn't be the Chicago connection. And the connection's based on that. We'll never be the Road Warriors. We know that nobody will ever be the Road Warriors ever again. You can try, you won't, but you can hold up that legacy of tag team wrestling. Look at the Gotch brothers. They're coming October 3rd. Perfect example of a team that is a tag team. Guys that put their heart in the business. And there's so many other great teams that are out there. Youth Gone Wild, they put their heart in the business. There's so many solid tag teams out there that are trying to carry on the legacy of these guys that were larger than life. And when we meet our heroes, we don't want to let them down, because we're held to such a high level of expectation, because Hawk and Animal believed in me, and I have to be the best at what I am, because they didn't put their time and energy into me as much as I did them. So I thank you, Dennis, for giving this platform. But for all the Road Warrior fans out there, yes, our childhood heroes are gone, but the memory won't leave.
Awesome. So Paul, thanks again for joining me tonight. I really hope that it's helped you in some way, because again, I know of your closeness to them. I know it's definitely helped me in that. So have a great night, and rest in peace, Joe Laurinaitis.
Yep. Road Warriors.
Thanks, Paul, for spending some time with me and sharing your stories of Hawk and Animal. They were really good, and it's always great reliving these memories that we've had over the years. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, and my shout out for this episode is going to go to the Laurinaitis family. Here, Road Warrior Animal was one of a kind, one half of the greatest tag team of all time, and I just want to thank him. I want to thank Michael Hagstrand, who is Road Warrior Hawk, for all the memories they've given me over the years. I know you guys are probably up there tearing it up in heaven, and hopefully someday that I will be able to say hello to you guys again. Rest in peace, Joe.